Hello everyone, it's David from Automotive Press. Guess what? I've taken out my 1981 Cadillac Eldorado Biarritz out of the storage to drive it for a day because the weather is pretty nice. It's still winter, so I won't go too far with it, but I'm looking forward to taking this out for a day, and I'm going to show you what's going on with this 81 Eldorado. So here's my 1981 Cadillac Eldorado, and mine is called the Biarritz edition, which is a flagship model. It has a number of unique features, such as this chrome trim that goes all the way, wraps around the roof. And then most interesting of all, a stainless steel, an actual stainless steel roof that goes from to back. It covers the entire roof here and even has a moonroof. So this was a pretty unique model at the time, and obviously the Biarritz edition is the one to get if you're a collector and wanting to keep this for a long time. So I was really happy that I was able to find the Biarritz edition of the Eldorado, and it wasn't in super great shape, but I managed to get it fixed up, and you can tell the paint job is pretty good because we got it wet sanded, ceramic coated, and all the paint correction has been done. It's not perfect yet, but compared to how it was before, this is darn pretty good job. They did a really wonderful job at the detail shop. They spent a couple of weeks to get this right, and the paint job, if not perfect, is as good as it's going to get for now. Now my Eldorado has the famous 468 fuel injection 6-liter V8 engine, which was somewhat troublesome, but once you turn off this cylinder deactivation system, then it runs just fine. Obviously it's very fuel thirsty, not something you want to drive for long distance because of the gas, but the actual engine runs pretty good. Obviously not as smooth as a modern V8 in today's cars, but for something that is almost 40 years old, this thing is remarkably good. And it has a lot of luxury features that you just didn't expect to have in a car that's over 40 years old. And the interior is surprisingly good shape. I suppose today's modern cars do not have the type of leather that they used back in the 1980s, because this leather is really thick and it hasn't faded. You can tell it's in really good shape. This car has 110,000 kilometers, so still pretty low mileage. But I was surprised when I bought this how good the actual interior is. The carpet was pretty dirty though, and the detail shop had to really clean that out several times to get it to this condition. But the dash, the wood, the chrome inside was all in pretty good shape when I bought it. And now that it's cleaned up, it's even better. You can tell the detailing is pretty amazing. Back in 1980s, it's hard to believe. Obviously, there's an ashtray here, a power lock, and even an electric window control for the rear view mirror. But there are a number of things that are still not quite fixed yet, like the air conditioning is not working right now. But that's okay. I can just open the window and open the roof, and it will be fine for something like this, since this wouldn't be my daily driver. And of course, back in the 80s and even 90s, this kind of landau roof was popular, and this was also in really good shape when I bought it, and therefore it's still in very good shape. You can tell that the actual vinyl cover and the stitching is all in one piece, nothing coming off. This wraps all the way around here, so that window is kind of recessed inside this top, which is really cool. I do have some pitting in here. This has to be replaced. This is as good as it can be for now. But some of the chrome trims are pretty good. And even here, this is really in good shape here. It's just shiny, just like a brand new chrome. The wheels are not original wheels right now. These are replica. So I do have to find the original wheels because I have them in the trunk, but they're in bad shape. So I'll have to source something that's closer to the original wheels, or maybe find a used one and get it fixed up. But otherwise, it's got some interesting feature which I'm going to show it to you. Let me take you inside first and show you what's going on. So now I'm inside my Eldorado, and like I said, for something that is 40 years old, it had a remarkable level of refinement and features. Everything from the electric adjust for the rear view mirror to power seat that reclines and goes forward, power door lock, and this kind of cool chrome door handles, chrome here as well, and even the electronic climate control that is supposed to keep the temperature at a steady state. So it has a thermostat built into the system. And here we have an economizer, which is basically a fuel economy rating, because in the 1980s there was a huge concern about fuel efficiency, even though this thing is basically a gas guzzler. Obviously, we have the cassette tape. It sounds okay. It still works, but it's not anything like today's modern stereo. We have the glove compartment, which is tiny, but it works with a remote open for trunk. So we'll open the trunk a little bit later on. And once again, the leather seat and even the embossing is really well done. We have the roof here. This is for the garage opener to put it inside, and the light still works as well. Both sides works just fine, and it's actually pretty bright. And we have the actual astro roof, they call it, or moon roof, that works perfectly with the shade that can open and close. And this is kind of velour or velvet kind of a texture, and surprisingly close. We even get light here for the passenger and driver, so you can look at yourself and maybe clean up a bit or put a makeup on. No grab handles on the ceiling or roof, and these stitchings are not real. These are fake stitching, but actual plastic material and the plastic composite are in really decent shape. Some minor things I still have to fix. This is popped out a little bit, and also during those years the steering is very narrow here, so very thin, which is the way they like it, but there is an actual leather and the stitching is still fine. A column mounted shifter for shifting from park to drive and to reverse. And then this is a digital display, which I'll show in a second, which was rare during those years. We have headlight on and off, and actually wiper over there. So as you can tell, all of the chromes are in pretty decent shape. Nothing is coming off, a little bit faded, but the detailing shop was able to get most of these sorted out. And the carpet, I think, is the one that needed the most amount of cleaning. They had to shampoo these things 4 or 5 times, and dirt kept coming out. But they eventually got it really clean. So it's in pretty good shape front and back. And I still have the original floor mats front and back as well. So that's pretty exciting. These seats just pushes forward to go in to the back. There's no locking mechanism. It locks when you decelerate automatically, but there isn't a lever or anything. Back in those days, that was acceptable. And the rear seats are surprisingly roomy, and even the seat belts are color coordinated. This is a dark blue leather, and we have a kind of lighter blue seat belt to go with it. And there is an opera lamp over there at night that lights up, and even a map lamp. So once again, for something that is this old, surprising amount of features. Maybe the stereo system isn't all that great, but who cares? You're not buying this for a stereo sound. Let me show you the engine compartment and a little bit in the trunk as well. So here's a glorious 6-liter V8 engine, which runs pretty smooth. Not as smooth as a modern engine, because maybe it still needs a little bit more of a tune-up. But mechanic I deal with did the best they can to clean up all of the oil residue from the previous oil leak problem they had. And also the 468 system that switches back and forth have been deactivated, so it stays as a V8 mode, which is really the only thing you can do with this engine. I'm glad I bought the 81, which has the digital fuel injection in this 6-liter version, because in the following year they introduced the 4100 HT engine, which was notoriously bad, and that engine has so much problems. So I'm really lucky to have found a 81, not a 82 or 83. And you know what? The engine compartment is pretty good shape. It's pretty clean. The air conditioning is not working, so that is something that I'll have to work on at some point. But it's okay. I don't really need to have air conditioning in summertime. It doesn't get too hot here in Vancouver. And you can tell most of the wiring and stuff like that is pretty intact. And there's no other leaks. There was some engine oil leak previously, but that was all fixed up. I guess this one popped out, so I'm gonna close this up in a second. But everything else looks pretty good. Let me show you the trunk as well, which has some stuff in it right now, so it's a bit busy. But the trunk is spring loaded. This thing opens up like this to put a key in. The trunk is surprisingly roomy, and it is not like modern cars where you can fold down the seat, obviously. But the spare is over here, and these are the original set of the wheels that came with the car. They're not in great shape, so I'll have to get them fixed up so I can put the original wheels in place. And the previous owner has some extra headlights and so forth. It still has the original license plate from back in the day, 1981. This car is 1981. This is 81 license plate from British Columbia. This is a local car with no accident and clean Carfax, and everything is carpeted in the trunk. And what's so beautiful about this is that it's automatic close. I just have to go like this and it pulls down. Even have an air suspension in the rear, which automatically compensate for weight in the trunk. Goes up and down by itself. You can't raise it or lower it manually. So right now it's in the low mode. You can tell it kind of raises up when you start the engine, start to move forward. So pretty amazing in terms of overall quality, especially considering the age of the vehicle. And there are still a few things I do want to fix, but I'm pretty happy with where it is right now. I haven't spent too much money on it, and I got it for a really good price. So I'm totally happy with the investment I made to this date. Maybe I will fix a few other things because there's some plastic materials and so forth that's cracked on near the bumper area. But even the tail lamp here, I got a detail guy to polish this up, and so it looks pretty good. None of these decals are breaking off or anything. I still have the original Bowell McLean Vancouver store where they were really well known for selling Buicks and Cadillacs. So that's gonna stay there. Let me start up the engine so I can show you what the engine sounds like. And what do you guys think of my 81 Eldorado? I know it's not a Toyota or Lexus model, and I know that that's a little bit of a departure for me, but I grew up with these cars around my neighborhood, and my family was never wealthy enough to own something like this. We had a Chevy Caprice Classic instead. But my friends' parents had this Eldorado, and I always admired the Eldorado Biarritz edition. So I was hoping at some point in the future I can buy one, and I'm just really fortunate that I was able to pick this up for a very, very low cost and fix it up without spending too much money. And right now it's kind of fun, my project car. Not quite sure what I'll continue to work on this, but I'm going to try to fix a few other minor stuff. And when the weather is nicer, take it for a longer drive and tell you guys more about my 81 Eldorado Biarritz. Let me know in the comments below what you guys like about this car, what you want to know. Or maybe you own one or you have something similar and you can share some tips with me because I'm still learning about this 81 Eldorado. Looking forward to catching up with you again very soon. Thank you for watching. If you can give me a thumbs up or subscribe, that would be great. Until next video, I'll talk to you soon. Take care and bye-bye.